Yo, what is good, KrabsLab members? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be covering a very simple price action concept called the breaker block. This is something that I use in my trading literally every single day. I use it for bias. I use it sometimes it's there with my entry, but I don't necessarily enter off of it. And it's just something that I always like to pretty much have my eye on. So today we're going to be breaking down the breaker block in literally under 10 minutes. So yeah, this is going to be a nice short and sweet type of video. This is a very simple concept that I think honestly every single trader should be knowledgeable of. So yeah, all that aside, if you guys are new here, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button before we get into the video. Let's get right into it. All right, so first of all, what even actually is a breaker block in general? Why do I like it? Why do I like to always have this in my arsenal pretty much? It's because it's pretty much a level in the market where price can kind of, one, it can bottom tick, two, it can just have a nice ass reaction off of, and three, when it's aligned with other things, it can give you a very precise type of just zone in general that you can trade off of. You could use it for bias when you're looking at this on the higher time frame, and then on the lower time frames for your entries when it actually aligns with other things. So here we have a bullish breaker block. What is a bullish breaker block? All that it is, it's a low, a high, lower low that takes out liquidity. Very important that this takes out liquidity. We run higher, shift structure. Very important. We start to close above the highs, closing above the wick that was left here to the left, shifting structure, strong displacement to the upside. And then what we can see here is price will oftentimes have a pullback into a breaker block as long as your drawn liquidity is correct. Now, why is this important? Because sometimes when you have imbalances here, say that we have like a unfilled 5 minute, or we'll say a 15, say we have an unfilled 15-minute gap or something like that. Say we have also like equilibrium of the range. This is then a key zone where you can take trades off of. And also in just a second, we'll actually take a look at this in the live markets on the actual charts. But yeah, let me show you guys also another example. It's very important that you guys understand that a bullish breaker block or a bearish breaker block in general also counts. The same concept works if there's a SMT. So as long as there's some type of sweep here at the lows, so low, high, lower low, I still count this as a lower low if there's a SMT, because that liquidity was still taken out, right? Run higher, shift structure above that high. We could retap where, if our drawn liquidity is correct, into that breaker. So now keep in mind, if you use this higher time frame, this gives you a clear as zone as to where price could have a reversal at. And as you can see, run higher, right? If we take a look at a bearish example, same exact thing, just opposite. This is a very simple concept. I'm not going to overcomplicate this. I'm not going to use any hard ass words. All that this is, a high, a low, higher high that swept out liquidity, run lower with strong displacement, closing below this wick that was left. Boom, retap into the zone, retap into the structure for delivery back down. If this, for example, say this is like 50% of the range here, say we had like an unfilled gap, SMT, then that's where you can then take a short setup. So the breaker block isn't something I necessarily like enter off of, but if there's other confluences aligned with it, then it gives a very powerful entry. Now for bias as well, if you see price is tapping into a breaker block, you can pretty much frame your lower time frame entry from it. Now this could be pretty much level. Say you're waiting here, you don't know where to short, right? Price is right here, trading. You could wait for price to tap into a breaker to see how we react when we tap into it. If you see we start to reject it, then you can start to frame a lower time frame entry as well. If you see also we start to close back into this breaker, then we sometimes can deliver back up higher. So that is something I look at a lot, right? If we start to inverse back into a breaker, close back into this range, then we could see a run back up towards that high, which this is honestly something that I haven't really heard anybody talk about, but this is something that I do look at a lot in my trading in general. And this is something honestly that is important when you're just reading price action in general. But overall, if your drawn liquidity is bearish, that breaker more times than not will be respected just like this. So same thing again, if there's a SMT, same exact thing. High, low, higher high. Why is it a higher high? because there was a SMT with ES or whatever. If you're trading NQ, SMT with ES, run lower, displacement lower, tap back into what? The breaker. We see reactions out. Could look for short setups in this zone, right? Let's actually take a look at this on the actual candlesticks chart. And by the way, this is literally something that happens every single day. So what do I see here? High, low, higher high, took out liquidity, swept out this high. We're running lower, shifting structure below this wick. I see we had this bearish closure. What happens? We tap back into this zone right here. Let me mark it out with a rectangle. I like to mark out the candle bodies just like this because it gives you a nice zone. And then what happens? Price pretty much wicks into the breaker and dumps. Now you can take setups off of this, but personally I like to wait for more confirmation. What I do like to use the breaker for though is a key zone where you can have a reversal. Now say we have like an unfilled gap, like an unfilled 5-minute imbalance or something like that, say something, or an unfilled 15, then boom, that's like a banger ass entry because you have multiple things aligned. Say, for example, you have like OTE or you have a 50% fib level as well. That makes it even better. And I know some people that just enter off of breakers as well. So you can actually use this for entries as well. And this is why I wanted to make this video because of how important breaker blocks actually are, bro. And also I know I'm talking about imbalances a lot. That's because I use imbalances a lot in my trading. So if you guys don't know what that is and what I'm referring to, then check out the video that I made on that on my channel. That is actually this video right here explaining the imbalances that I use on Bootcamp day 3. So this overall was a bearish example of a breaker. Let's take a look at a bullish example. This literally happens every single day. And honestly, I should have made this video a lot sooner. I haven't really made a video going over breakers in detail on how I look at them, how I use them. But yeah, you can see we have this low right here. We have this high. We have this lower low. Took out liquidity, beautiful sweep, wick rejection, displacement above this high. We closed, tap back into the breaker. Now this is like a bit of a lower time frame example, but you can see this literally works on all time frames. So here, say you want to take a trade off of it, you can. But for me personally, I like to have multiple confluences in my trading, you know, higher time frame draw, have your bias aligned, have some fib levels, but this is one of the confluences that I like to use a lot. Also, let's take a look at an example if there was to be an SMT at that low. For example, right here, this scenario, looking at ES, say that we have an SMT at this high, say that we have a bearish SMT, ES swept out this high, NQ did not. We have a high, we have a low, a higher high. Why is this a higher high? Because it's a SMT. I see this as protected. We start to displace to the downside, right? Shifting structure, closing below these wicks here. Where do I mark out this breaker? Pretty much this zone right here. You can mark it out as a bigger zone. It is up to you. I like to just use pretty much just that main candle there. And as you can see here, we edged it and then we tapped into that breaker later on. So actually in this example right here, if we pull a fib on this range here, you can see this was actually a perfect tap of the 618 OTE as well. So you see 1, we tapped into the breaker, 2, we tapped into OTE. We rejected it a little bit. You can see that confirmation down close 1 minute candle. This is something that you can even use for entries, right? And you can see that we had a beautiful move lower after this. So overall, breaker blocks are something that I use a lot in my trading. And also this is vice versa. If it's bullish, if it's bearish, the time frame doesn't matter. So I'm not going to go on different time frames because this works on every single time frame. Price in general is fractal. So I use this on the weekly, I use this on the daily, 4-hour, hourly, 30-minute, 15-minute, 5-minute, 1-minute, everything pretty much. And this is just a confluence overall that I like to use a lot. So you can see how pretty much good of a zone this actually is to look for entries. You know, use it for your bias as well. Say that we're on the 4-hour time frame, the same thing applies. Overall, very, very quick video. Just wanted to explain how I use breaker blocks in my trading because I have gotten some DMs, I've gotten some questions on Discord about this concept, and I haven't really made a video in detail about how I actually look at them. Very, very simple concept, so nice and short and sweet video for today. But yeah, comment below if you have any questions, hit that like button if you enjoyed, and actually backtest this for yourself. Hop into the charts for yourself, see if you can find some breakers. And if you've never even looked at breakers in general, it's going to really open up your eyes to a zone in the market where you can have nice ass reactions from. Because when I found out about breakers, it's like I couldn't unsee it pretty much. It just happens over and over and over again, especially when your drawn liquidity is on point. you'll see how often breaker blocks actually get respected. Also, to all the real ones that actually made it all the way until the end of this video, comment below W. Just drop a W in the comments if you enjoyed. And yeah, we'll keep these bootcamp videos going. Also, this is the last time for a minute that you guys will see this beautiful background that I have behind me, right? I'm about to be moving out literally tomorrow into the new crib. So yeah, just got a new crib in Florida. So yeah, it's going to be absolutely dope. The content there is going to be sick. It's just going to overall be pretty much a new chapter in my own life. And yeah, it's going to be dope. So yeah, stay tuned for that as well. But yeah, all that aside, peace out. Good looks.